The French ambassador being summoned over the detention of 43 supporters of Russia aboard a coach in Marseille. 11 have been released, 32 remain held. Some face charges, perhaps, and deportation. Moscow says French authorities failed to inform their embassy or consulate in Marseille before intercepting the bus.
It is inadmissible to behave the way our citizens did. But at the same time, we cannot ignore the absolutely provocative actions of fans from other countries. You have probably seen the outrageous footage on television, where the Russian flag is being trampled, where there are insults against the Russian government, and insults against leading Russian sportsmen are being chanted. One should not punch someone else in the head, but it is inadmissible to ignore the provocateurs, who are trying stealthily to create a crisis situation.
Well, for more, we're joined by historian Sébastien Louis, the author of The Hooligan Phenomenon in Italy, History of Hooliganism from 1968 to 2005. The latest academic publication that you were working on is about supporting the national team, the political and identity issues with football fans. First of all, your reactions to the comments by the Russian foreign minister.
I prefer not to make comments because I think we have to take a bit distance. Now everybody is looking at them. And in fact, the idea of the UEFA to suspend Russia, I think it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea because it gives too much power to these 150 guys that all the world are speaking about. In fact, they interrupt as a real protagonist of the football game, not the 22 sportsmen on the pitch.
Were the Russians unfairly singled out? Before the match, there was violence that involved French fans and English fans before the Russians came in the mix.
It's true, but it's a bit more complicated because it was a bit problematic issue to fix the game in Marseille. The French authority, after the tie, they could have changed the city, because we all know of 98 trouble
at the World Cup
between England and Tunisia. Fans, yeah. So it was not a good idea because English fans were expected. They were expected by some youngster of Marseille, and in fact there was some trouble Thursday evening already around the pub, around the Vieux-Port of Marseille. And this was a really small skirmish. After the Friday, there was also some problematic situation, but the real thing starts the Saturday. The Friday already a group of hooligans of 20 to 25 guys just went in front of the pub, the main pub where the English fans were singing, drinking at 4 p.m. and they just provoked them. The police just kicked them out and that's it, nothing happened. They should have been followed by undercover police to understand because they were not like normal fans. You could see by the muscles, by the way they act, by the provocation that they were here to first say, we're here, guys, and something will happen.
And what's your reaction to the fact that when the stadium violence happened on Saturday for the whole of the world to see, the French authorities unable to catch any of those 150 Russians?
In fact, it's crazy. First of all, it's crazy for the trouble in the city. For half an hour, we had a group of 150, a commando of 150 Russian hooligans who managed to organize themselves in a very good way, like military tactics. They knew the street. When the police was shooting tear gas, they managed to escape because of the smoke and everything. So it was crazy. It was unbelievable. It was very well organized. But in the stadium, it's different because it's in a stadium with a lot of camera. Even they had T-shirt, which you can understood because they had some kind of hooligan wear that people know, specialists especially. And the stadium, there were only a few stewards to separate them from the English fan. And this is really a problematic situation because trouble in the city, it can happen. I mean, it happened all around the game, but it's because in France, we are not prepared.
We're not used to it.
We are used to, but the DNLH, so Division Nationale de Lutte contre le Hooliganisme, there is a special, there are special people who are working against hooliganism in France. They are really not capable to organize this because all the year in France, for the football season 2015-2016, 280 games were forbidden for host fans. So it means the police is not used anymore to be in front of football fans.
In other words, whereas because in Germany, the Netherlands, England, they seem to have to cope better in a way because they have hooligans there.
In all the countries, there is hooligans. There is no zero risk. I mean, violence there will be, in a way or in another. But you can cope with it before. So you have to do a prevention work, which is not the work of the French police. The French police, the French authority who work with hooliganism. I don't speak about the police which is on the field, but I mean the leader of this DNLH. They didn't understood that there is a difference between a firework and between a hooligan, between English fans drinking and for sure maybe throwing a bottle, and a real Russian hooligan which is organized, which is fighting all the year, which as a kind of athlete. In fact, the alcohol has nothing to do maybe with the English, but the Russians, they were all sober to be ready to fight and to organize themselves.
A couple of things. First of all, we heard the Russian foreign minister there at the same time complain about the French, but also acknowledge that some of his own fans had gone too far. What's your reaction to that?
For sure, they know, because Russia is coping also a serious problem with hooliganism. It's not new. In fact, most of them, they are organizing free fights. They call them far away from the stadium. In a bush, for example, in a wood, in a parking, in a plot which is very far away from the stadium. They call each other the leader of the firm, and they organize to be 15 against 15, 20 against 20. It's very well-organized hooliganism. And in fact, in Russia, they know about it. But it's true, there was a problem because they sent only 30 names, but I don't want to there must be for sure cooperation. This is the best, but also to do some more information about this group, because the only solution that people are giving the authority is repression. Repression is not enough. You have also to do prevention.
Okay, we're going to cross now to Lille and Ketevan Gorjestani again. Ketevan, you were telling us a minute ago about the festive atmosphere where you were in the center of Lille after Russia's loss to Slovakia and ahead of England, Wales. What's the situation now? All right, there we see...
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, there's a big group of people walking around. I can't really tell. Okay, they're England and Wales fans running in the streets, as you can see, and yelling insults at Russia. And they just saw a Russia fan, and they're beating up journalists. They're trying to grab the cameras. So we're backing out of there, but the cops are surrounding the place. We have to move. The cops are waiting there. They're all stationed there with flashballs, waiting for the group to move. So far we haven't really seen any Russians, but they could be not wearing any jerseys. So far we only seen England and Wales fans, and the riot police moving in.
All right, riot police moving in. We can see you're on a side street We can see you're on a side street with.
Yes, we see a cafe closing down. Yeah.
Cafe closing down. And did you see at all what triggered it? You say that they were chasing after a Russia fan?
It looked like they were chasing after a Russia fan, but to tell you the truth, there are hundreds of people, so I was on the other side of what happened, and I couldn't exactly see what exactly triggered it, but it looked like a few England fans charging and screaming at someone about Russia, so it seemed like it was a Russian fan, but maybe he wasn't even a Russian fan, he just got mistaken for it.
All right, so maybe just a crowd movement, maybe just one incident. We're seeing now that the England fans started. Go ahead, Ketevan.
The England fans the England fans clearly were very festive just 10 minutes ago when we were live, and now the tone has turned a bit more aggressive, to be honest.
All right, Ketevan Gorjestani, many thanks for that live update. Keep us posted there in the center of Lille. Sébastien Louis, your reaction to what we just saw?
I think we saw a lot of confusion. French police in Marseille, they were confused by the behavior of the English fans, because the English fans, as we saw on the image, you can really see them. And for sure now there is a kind of revenge for some English fans, because what happened in Marseille was totally crazy. For half an hour we had trouble in the center of the city near 100 of policemen. Police on the field were totally lost. They managed in a very good way. In fact, they saved the life of an English fan who was seriously wounded by some Russian hooligans. But at the same time, they have still the same image, like a lot of people, that the hooligan is an old guy with tattoo, with beer belly, and with a jersey of England or something like this, drinking a lot. In fact, almost the huge majority, there was almost no English hooligan in Marseille. Why? Because 3,000 of them had to remain in England, first of all. Then there is a lot of work of prevention of police. You can see undercover police, English undercover police, who arrive, we speak with the people, they know what to do. In France, we don't have this culture of the dialogue with the fan. In Germany, in Austria, it's the case. There is undercover police who go to speak with the radical fan and said, look, you will be in trouble if you continue. And you cannot send heavy equipped anti-riot police because it doesn't work with the Russian. You can see they were very fast to escape in all the way. So you have to have fast unit. I mean, it's a very complicated issue, hooliganism. And for sure, the way the DNLH prepared it was a total failure. And in fact, we have to be a bit positive. Why we have to be optimist? Maybe we can think what policy we can organize to have everybody in a stadium. Because I'm sure it's possible to have a football, not without violence. This is a dream. I mean, violence and football are totally connected. Already at the end of 19th century in England, you had trouble around the game. In Italy, in 1914, fans of Pisa and Livorno were shooting each other with machine gun. Anyway, to say violence, it's always around football, but you have to cope with it. And to cope with it, you have to do a serious work of intelligence, of prevention, and also for sure sanction, but personal sanction, not to ban a whole team, which is a totally different thing.
All right, don't be too heavy-handed and learn prevention. Let's cross to the other end of France, Marseille, where those clashes happened over the weekend. There's going to be another match there later, France hosting Albania, the second group phase encounter for the two teams. Albania, the underdogs. They've never qualified before for a major tournament. Twice, though, they beat France in friendlies during the qualifying campaign, so Les Bleus will be on their guard. That's as far as what will happen sportingly. Luke Brown, what's the mood in the streets of that Mediterranean port city?
Yeah, we're here in Marseille for the second French match, and Marseille is, of course, perhaps the most football mad of the French cities. That pretty much guarantees there's likely to be a pretty good atmosphere in the stadium itself. The French have a very good record here. Indeed, back in 1984 and in 1998, they really built their reputation and really their victorious campaigns in those two key tournaments. They built those campaigns on victories here in Marseille, so they've got their good record. They'll be expecting a good atmosphere, perhaps even better than the Stade de France, because of the really the football mad keen fans here in the south of France. The gates have just opened in the past half hour or so, and we've seen the first few thousand early supporters arriving and going into the stadium. What we've been seeing is really the Albanian and the French fans, a large number of Albanian fans too, but really enjoying the atmosphere, drinking in the atmosphere side by side. That's a far cry, of course, from the violent scenes here in Marseille back on Saturday between the Russian and the English fans. So as such, what we can say for the moment, the fans that we're seeing behind me really looking forward to the match getting underway, and a very peaceful situation here in Marseille.
All right, Luke Brown, many thanks for that update from Marseille. So there we have it, very different atmosphere. Sébastien Louis, just a brief question again. It's interesting. It seems things can turn on a hairpin.
As you said, it can turn in a very quick way. It depends. First of all, as I said, the fans of national football here are very different. And in this case, we have another image about football. It's not the true image, because people said these hooligans have nothing to do with football. Believe me, they are really passionate about football. But here with France-Albania, there will be some friendship. And even when I took the train to go to Marseille, an English fan was paying drink to all the wagon, and then a Russian fan arrived and give matryoshka, this Russian souvenir. Anyway, I think most of the football, it's exchange, it's about social behavior, people are happy, and for sure there are trouble, but it can be avoided. As I said, there is a whole work we have to do before.
All right, Sébastien Louis, many thanks for being with us this half hour. We'll have more coming up. Stay with us.